seconds, and Tyler Shepardson is off and rolling with this week's episode of OTP.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah. Good afternoon, beautiful people. Today is Tuesday, February the 23rd. Right. Today is Tuesday, February the 23rd. This is another episode of OTP Tuesdays. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepardson, and I want to start things off by saying a big thank you to you. If you are listening to this and this is going in your ear holes, then I appreciate you clicking the link, or however you found us. Maybe you subscribe to us, it downloads automatically. Maybe you actually look forward to these episodes coming out every Tuesday and you're just listening to it. Whatever the case is, thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the program. We have a really, really cool show coming at you today. First of all, our intro. Is this where the drumming and stuff kicks in at? That is Big Tom, Thomas Caldwell. Him and Tyler Bruton, two great friends of the show, some OTP OGs. They're going to be joining us on the show here in just a little bit to talk about this whole shot battle that comes down to them two every single race in the 25 plus class. If you race 25 plus at a GNCC, be prepared for a green and an orange bike to be going around that corner first. I don't know how, but them two are always the ones getting the whole shot, and they go back and forth with each other quite a bit, and it's one of my favorite part of the race weekends to watch, to see who is going to take home the whole shot battle for that weekend between Tyler Bruton and Thomas Caldwell. So they'll be on in just a little bit. We will talk to them about the whole shot battle, and I'm sure about all sorts of other stuff. Also, some really cool stuff coming at you. We're going to recap the GNCC. Big Buck happened over the weekend. We're going to talk about that and some of the storylines of it. Also, want to let you guys know, we're going to have Thad DuVall on the show here tonight. So we have an interview with Thad DuVall coming up. He placed second place on the weekend and is no doubt a title contender coming into the season. And the reason I say it like that is we go into some detail about that, so I'm excited for you to hear that interview. It is honestly one of my favorite interviews to date. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. At least I hope you do. And then we're also going to have the WXC standout rider from round number 1, Rachael Archer. She joins us tonight as well. We have a really cool conversation with her about the weekend, about how she came over to America, about her foot healing up from breaking it last year, and really how she went on a tear to go 5 in a row to end the season last year, end her season last year, and then comes right back out and grabs the win here at round number 1 in 21. So that was a really cool conversation with her as well. And then also, want to let you guys know, the man of the hour, the man that took the win over the weekend, Grizzly Grant Baylor, as a lot of people know him by now. I think the Grizzly thing is starting to stick. He had some stuff come up today. He was supposed to be on the podcast. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it on tonight, but we're going to talk with him tomorrow, and I'm going to upload that as its own separate podcast. So you're checking out OTP Tuesday right now, and then I'm thinking probably Thursday. I might put it out tomorrow, which is Wednesday, but I'm thinking Thursday we'll put out that episode with Grant Baylor, so it'll just be a standalone interview with him. But I'm super excited to be able to catch up with him, get his thoughts on the weekend and his thoughts on getting the win. So be on the lookout for that, but we have a jam-packed episode coming at you right now with some really good guests tonight, and as we mentioned, we'll be having Grant on tomorrow. I'll be interviewing him, and then we'll put that one out later in the week. I'm sure you guys will all be aware of it. Do want to take a moment to thank our friends over at Armored Graphics. Armored Graphics was the sole graphic provider for the JGR Suzuki team over the past several seasons. So all those bikes you saw, they designed. Ricky Carmichael's bikes, they were doing his on Suzuki's. They're doing his now that he's on Kawasaki's. Done a lot of work for Chad Reed. They do some really good work. They are getting back into the mix with off-road racing and really trying to make another push. So I want to say a big thank you to them. You can check them out, armoredgraphics.com or at armoredgraphics on the socials. Really good guys, do really good work, and you should check them out. Make sure you use promo code OTP for your online orders, and that will save you 15% off of your bike's graphic kits. No doubt it's going to be top-notch quality, and it's going to look awesome. So check them out, Armored Graphics. Over the weekend, I posted a few pictures on the OTP Instagram of Trevor Barrett's XC3 bike. So Trevor Barrett's going to be racing XC3 this year. He's on a KTM 125. We got him hooked up with some Armored Graphics OTP editions. I think they came out really cool, so I posted some pictures of those. Hopefully, here in the near future, we will have an OTP kit available through Armored Graphics for you listeners out there. So be on the lookout for that. Some exciting things to come, but I thought that bike did turn out really sick. So, yeah, thanks to them over at Armored Graphics. We're going to go ahead and get into the weekend. I want to start things off. You got to give credit where credit is due. GNCC, it's amazing what they do. It really is. No matter how you want to look at it, which way you want to look at it, it's amazing. To show up to Big Buck and see so many RVs, see so many trucks, so many trailers, so many people in the middle of a field in Union, South Carolina is absolutely insane. Not to mention the fact that everyone thought this race was going to be rained out. Everyone has been calling for it to be canceled for weeks. Even the week leading up to it, people were talking about that it needs to be canceled. There's no way people are getting in there. And it ended up being the absolute most perfect conditions that I think Big Buck could be. There were some wet spots down in the low areas, but I mean, that's to be expected. It has done nothing but rain here for a while, but I showed up and my first thought was that it looked like Indiana dirt. It looked like Ohio dirt. It did not look like Carolina clay. It had moisture in it. It stuck together. It tacked up. It was a darker color. It was really good dirt. It was really good conditions, and even the start started drying out, and there was dust at the start. There was dust in the field section, so everyone was calling for this race to be canceled when it ended up being absolute perfect conditions and ended up getting dusty even. So I just wanted to start things off by saying a big shout out to GNCC Racing and everything that they do. Not to mention, there's a GNCC Racing thread on Facebook, or a group rather, and it seems like every single day there is another post just absolutely trashing GNCC. Whether it's Racer TV, whether it's the people laying out the trails, whether it's the people doing sweep riding even, or the AMA with the damn GoPro thing for the helmets. Every single day there is a relentless amount of people just talking junk. And so for them to see all that stuff, I mean, they know what's going on. And to see all that and still move forward and go put on these races and have them be as good as they are, just like I said, you got to give credit where credit is due. I do not work for GNCC. I haven't been paid by GNCC in quite some time now. Like, I have no real affiliation with them. I cover their events, and I go to their events. I enjoy their events. I race their events. I don't work for them, but it's insane what they do. The whole time I was there this weekend, I hadn't gone to a GNCC since Camp Coker of last year. And then I was out at this one this year, and I mean, you go to some local races, you go to some other stuff, and it's fun, but it is nowhere near the magnitude that GNCC is. They had 2,021 riders, participants over the weekend, which is just ironic in itself that to start off the 2021 season, they had 2,021 riders. So I thought that was just a pretty cool little coincidence, but just to be out there, to walk down to the hill climb and see all the people and see the cameras and see all the machines going up. And as I mentioned, the parking lot's full, and you go down vendor row and then you go down pit row, and they had everything open, which they don't normally do. Normally it's all bannered off all weekend, but at Big Buck, I noticed that the pits were just wide open, like you could walk through it, and then for the pro races, they would banner it off and close it down. But the other time, it was wide open. But just to be a part of it and see it and see how many people that were there, and just you go several months without racing, looking forward to that round. Sure, National Enduro started. Sure, some local series started, but none of that really does the same justice as looking forward to the start of GNCC. I think we've talked about it on here before that riders that make a living riding off-road dirt bikes on the East Coast, they get contracted for GNCC. If you want to race another series, go ahead, race another series. Some of them require a second series that you can kind of pick and choose. Some of them don't require a second series, but if you want to go race one, you can, as far as the pro contracts are concerned. But they're getting hired to race the GNCC series. So that's how big it is. So to go out there and see it, it's cool. I hadn't been to one in a while, and just to watch it was pretty neat. So yeah, to be able to handle that many people, that many fans, especially during a pandemic, and that many racers, and it's pretty cool how they're able to do it all and change all the tracks and fit all the races in throughout the weekend that they do, from kids quads to micros to adults to pros to amateur, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, nevertheless, we'll get straight into the swing of things. There was a lot of stuff going on this past weekend. Want to start things off letting you know the results. So obviously, as we mentioned, the man of the hour, the man that took the win on the weekend, and I doubt anyone had him picked, and that's the great part about it. I know if you were betting your buddies some money, I don't know how many people put money on Grant Baylor coming out and winning this thing, but that is exactly what he went out and did, so that is awesome for Grant Baylor. He goes out and grabs the overall win. He was the first one to pit, and we got to listen to Stu in the booth and kind of hear from the pro racers' perspective, what was going on out there, and their strategy for Grant was a pit at the beginning, so that way he could slowly make up that time, and then by the time everyone else pitted, he would be able to move into the lead, and that is exactly what he did. So he kind of hung back for the first few laps, and then with 2.5 laps left, he took the lead and never looked back. He grabs his first official win. Everyone kept saying it's his first official win. Now, remember, Grant did win a race before, but it was at the Penton a couple years ago, and it ended up that Thad ended up getting caught on camera taking a line that was ruled to be too far off of, the marked course. And one thing that Stu said on the broadcast for Racer TV was that Grant brought up his first win a lot. He said that he's talked about it a lot, and he said it's not the way he wanted it to happen, obviously. And then I guess the best way to put it is what Stu said is that day Grant took home the trophy, not the win. And that's an interesting way to look at it, because that's kind of what happened. Because Thad got the win. Thad crossed the finish line first, and then they did the podium. So they handed out awards, they did the interviews, everything was set and done, and then they went back later that evening once they saw the footage and took the win away from Thad and gave it to Grant Baylor. So that was his first win, but he didn't even get to experience it on the podium. He didn't cross the finish line first, and he didn't get to have that moment on the podium or anything like that. So I can see where he'd be coming from with not really wanting to count that as his first win. But this race, he absolutely did get the win. He was the first one across the finish line, and he was the one that got it done. So big congratulations to Grant Baylor. And as we mentioned, we'll be talking with him tomorrow, and you can look forward to hearing that conversation later throughout the week. One man that we did talk to today, and you will be hearing here in just a little bit, is Thad DuVall. So Thad DuVall missed 2020 with a knee injury. He came into the season already hurt and then tweaked his knee at the first round, and that put him out for the rest of the season, where he ended up getting surgery. He did come back and race a couple races at the end of the year, but he is back healthy for a full season this year. And as I kind of alluded to it before, it's one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So I won't go into too much detail about Thad, because we're going to hear about that here in just a little bit. And then rounding out your pro overall podium, The man that was on the podcast last week, Josh Strang, on that Kawasaki, he grabs the final podium position. So charging hard late in the race, gave his absolute all, ended up pushing himself to the brink to take home that final podium spot. But he starts his year off on the box, your second place rider on the year last year, and a lot of people's favorite for the championship this year. Josh Strang starts off getting solid points, third place on the box, and it was not easy. He had to come from behind to get that done and really charge hard late in the race to solidify his podium position. So big ride by Josh Strang, and a good ride for him to be able to get on that podium and get things started off on the right foot this year in 2021. Moving on to our XC2 250 Pro class, Mike Wachowski. He is doing a little bit of a video series with Rob Mitchell. So if you've seen the first episode of that, you can kind of see how hard he's working and what his mindset is. It is known throughout the riders. I've heard it from several people, not just one, but several people, that Mike is one of the hardest working people that there is. He's been on the show before, and he will be on the show again. But I think he is coming into this year with anything less than first place is not good enough. And it's cool to see him in that mentality, but he puts that. He talks the talk and then walks the walk this past weekend. He got stuck and fell behind a little bit, but worked his way back up to the front and ended up taking the win. Craig DeLong, our defending series champion, running that number 1 plate. He won the season last year. Also, a side note, they were doing the championship presentations on the starting line. I think it was on TV. It was in front of everybody. They were handing Craig DeLong his trophy. Nice looking glass trophy, like specially made. XC2 champion. Here you go, Craig DeLong. It got dropped on the stage and just shattered. I mean, like a grenade. That thing just went into a million different pieces. So bit of an awkward situation. I can't imagine what was going through Craig's head, and I don't mean to laugh about it now, but I mean at the time, it's just everyone was just in a state of shock. Like, did that really just happen? Obviously, they're going to get him another one made, so he will get that trophy to be able to put on the shelf. But what a moment! I couldn't believe that when it happened. But nevertheless, Craig DeLong, at the start, he ends up clipping the back of Mike Wachowski's rear tire and goes sailing. And I was kind of across the way when it happened, but going into the first turn, like I said, he got stood up by Mike's back tire, and he just goes flying across the whole starting section. And obviously all the bikes and stuff go in between him and his bike, but then he jumps back up, gets on his bike, kind of banging on the levers, banging on the hand guards, getting everything back to go. Obviously the last one in the woods, I think he passed up and got to the lead at a couple different points, but ended up getting second place on the day, which I would say that I'm sure he'd be happy with, but knowing Craig, he's probably not happy with it. I think he has that same mentality that Mike has, that going into this season, anything less than a win is just unacceptable. But awesome ride from him. So he gets your second place position in that XC2 class. Third place also was on the show last week, Lyndon Snodgrass. Lyndon Snodgrass rides his way to a podium finish, puts in a very solid ride, charging very hard there at the end as well. He got stuck in a bit of a mud hole. Andrew Coffey was able to help him out, but he lost some time and lost some positions there, and he was able to make that time back up though and finish on the podium. So as we mentioned last week when we talked to Lyndon, he got his first podium of the year with a second-place finish at Ironman last year to end his season before he went back home. So he has already matched his 2020 podiums by coming out and getting a podium here at the first round. So we talked to Lyndon, and he wants to be in the mix of that championship. He wants to be running up front with those guys. I think he's got it in him. He thinks he's got it in him, and he proves that this weekend by getting third place and rounding out the podium in that 250 Pro class. Johnny Gerard, another interesting one to note, took a lot of race wins last year, was in contention for the title before he got hurt and had to miss the last couple of rounds. he was up front and battling back and forth for the lead this weekend. Ended up having a couple gnarly crashes. If you look at Johnny's Instagram, he posted a picture of his bike. It is mangled. The pipe is just folded. His face is all bloody. I mean, there's just dried blood and dirt all over his nose. So there is no quit in Johnny Gerard, and he will no doubt be at the front of all of these races, but he ended up crashing. I don't remember where he finished at, but he was running in that top 3 most of the day before all that stuff started to catch up with him. So just wanted to note that. And then also Evan Smith. Evan Smith put on an impressive ride. Evan is a guy that's always been right there, but yesterday we saw him at the front. It looked like he was on his way to a podium. We saw him doing really well. He was in the podium spots throughout the whole entire race, and then it ended up happening is that, sorry, didn't mean for that to happen. I was actually going to check a message that he sent me that I wanted to read, and something popped up on my cell phone. But yeah, he said he had a fall on lap 3 that fell and then fell in a ravine on lap 4. So lap 4 he fell, his bike went down in a ravine. It took him over a minute to get it out. So if you look at his lap times and look at where he finished at, if you take that lap 4 time out and just average it with the rest of his times, he would have been right up there in the mix. So he's coming off an injury as well, but he is training hard. I know he's down there at the Shoals with Stu over the offseason. We'll probably have Evan on the show very soon here, but looking like he's going to have some success very soon here as well, because he was on it yesterday. So, I meant Sunday. You know what I meant. Moving on to our 125 Pro-Am class, also on the show last week, Jonathan Johnson on that new ride that he's got on the Husqvarna. He is switching brands, switching teams, and switching classes, going to that XC3 class. Don't want to say going down to that XC3 class, just going to that XC3 class. I definitely don't think it's a step down. I think that class is going to be one of the most competitive classes as well. Really, all of these pro classes are, but XC3 is also going to be super competitive. Jonathan Johnson goes out there, gets the first win of this season. So, got to be a good way to start it out. I know that he was looking for other rides and has been racing XC2 and ended up in this XC3 ride, but it's got to be a confidence booster to go into that XC3 ride and getting a win at the very first round. And I think that with the competition and with the skill level that Johnny is, I think he is an instant championship contender, and he proves that to be the case as he goes out and gets that first win. So it was cool to see that happen, even though they did spell his name wrong on his jersey. I saw the picture of it, and I freaked out. I had to double check and make sure that I didn't spell it wrong for the show and everything. But it turns out that they spelled his name wrong. But they're gonna get that corrected, because now they got a points leader that they're sending out there. So points leader got to have your name spelled right on your jersey. So I'm sure that'll be coming down the pipeline. Chase Colville, he's been no stranger to the XC3 podiums. He ends up getting second place in that XC3 class, and then your defending series champion, Zach Hayes, which his bike looking all pretty out there with the number 1 plate on it, sitting outside of the factory rig. So obviously it looks like he's got some sort of factory support this year, which is cool because he is the defending XC3 champion. But he rounds out your podium this year, getting some solid points there in that third place position. Also worth noting, we had a couple of my buddies, friends of the show, as we mentioned earlier, Trevor Barrett. He was out there racing that XC3 class. Kind of had a little bit of injuries ailing him going into the weekend, but he was able to work through it, muscle through it, and work his way to a 7th place finish, I believe it was, but very solid, especially considering a couple days before the race he didn't think he was going to be racing. So he ends up getting 7th place, and then good friend of the show, Dustin Simpson, who is getting a ride this year for the Teely Energy team, some support from Teely Energy. He goes out there with no time on the bike, so I think it had like 0.4 hours on it. I don't think he'd ridden it anywhere but in front of his house and around the parking lot a little bit. He was able to go out there and ride and get some valuable seat time. but I think he ended up finishing 11th. But, I mean, there's drops for a reason. I think XC3 gets 2 drops, so no doubt Dustin's going to be looking to improve those results. But just want to shout out a couple of my buddies, both going out there and racing that XC3 class. And then our women's pro class, which was in the morning, Rachael Archer, as we mentioned, she will be talking with us here in just a moment. She's on that AmPro Yamaha ride for the year. Ended the season with 5 straight wins last year, comes back out, gets the round 1 win. And once again, I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail there because we're going to talk to her about that. So I'll let her explain it to you. And then second place was our defending and reigning series champion Becca Sheets out there with the number 1 plates on that Yamaha for the second time. Well, actually, I guess the first time she rode number 1, she was on a KTM. But she won the championship on a Yamaha. And then she won the championship in 2020 on a Yamaha. Nevertheless, she was out there with the number 1 plates. They were battling back and forth, swapping positions. She ends up in second place to start her year out. And then Rachael Goodish ended last year with a win in the WXC class and then also several podiums. And then she picks right where she left off. I think she finished in 3rd place for the year last year, and she gets 3rd place on the weekend down there at Big Buck. And then also just want to point out Nathan Rector. Sorry, had a little bit of a lisp there. Nathan Rector was your top amateur on the weekend. So that is how things shook out. Those were your results for the weekend. Like I said, Big Buck, it was awesome. Couple things. Jesse Ansley. We saw Jesse Ansley come out and get the Pro 2 win at the National Enduro. So that was cool to see him do that. Talked to him a little bit. He said that he is doing something a little bit different and wasn't ready to quite give away his secrets. So came into Big Buck looking for big things out of Jesse. Looks like he had a good ride. I didn't get a chance to talk with him, see what was going on, but putting down some solid lap times and a solid ride there. But moving into the next race is going to be in Florida. Jesse lives in Florida. He's from Florida. He's a sand rider. He typically does well in Florida. I think Jesse might be at that point where Florida is going to be a spot for him to make a statement. He's had that KTM support. He's on that Cheryl Desser's KTM team. I think Jesse, he'd be the one to watch to come out swinging in that XC2 class in Florida. I think Jesse knows the position that he is in. I think he knows that Florida is literally his backyard. That's his hometown race. And I think he is hungry to make a statement for himself. So I think Jesse Ansley is going to be one to watch as we move into the sands of Florida. And I think he got a top 10 over the weekend, but look to see him battling up towards the front in Florida. I think he needs, if he's able to go out there and do that, it's going to give him a lot of confidence. It's going to help him moving forward throughout the season. So I think he probably is in that same boat with thinking that as well. So it's just one to keep your eye on as we move into Florida. The XC1 class, we saw a lot of lead changes. So we saw a lot of stuff going on. Strang got the whole shot, but then kind of fell back a little bit after that. Not sure what happened there, but, I mean, we saw Lane Michael up front battling for the lead. We saw Ben Kelly taking the lead. We saw, who else? My mind just went blank. Grant Baylor obviously was up there in the lead. We saw the lead change a lot. We saw several different people running up front. We saw several different people in those top 3 places just swapping all around. But in the end, it was all of the vets that ended up taking the podium, which I thought was interesting. Grant Baylor, he's one of the, I wouldn't call him one of the younger guys in the class, but he's been in the class for several years now. So he's a little bit of a vet rider in his own, where he's been in there several years. He's had a win in the past that we talked about, but he's able to go out and play the game right and take home that win. But then you got Thad DuVall, which we're going to go into conversation with him about that. But Thad is one of those guys where he's 32 now. He's one of the vets in the class. He's been the one that's been there pushing Caleb for the last several years, and he's able to get that second place finish where he was kind of mid-pack to begin with. He worked his way all the way back up to second, not too far off of the lead. And then Strang. We talked to Strang last week. We've talked about him several different times. He is one of the guys to beat. He is one of the people that's going to have one of the highest race IQs. He's going to be one of those guys that knows when to turn it on and when to kind of maintain. So he's going to be playing those crafty games throughout the year, and Strang is just always there. He's always consistent. He rarely has a bad race. He's always right there, and that's why he is dangerous in this championship run. But it was just interesting to see that there's so many people swapping back and forth for the lead, but in the end, it was three of those more household names that ended up rounding out your podium. But yeah, it was pretty cool to watch all that happen. But other than that, it was a cool weekend of racing. It was cool to see Stu in the booth give us some more information about what is going on and kind of see things from a racer's perspective. I think he does really good announcing and commentating, and I think that really suits him well. So it was really cool to be able to listen to him and hear what he has to say. But another thing that happened over the weekend in that booth that I kind of want to talk about briefly here, Johnny Gallagher. So Johnny Gallagher, I think he's going into his 27th season as an XC1 Pro quad rider. He is one of the voices of Racer TV for the bike races. He just kind of brought up a couple things here. I'm gonna play the clip from Racer TV so you guys can hear it after I drop my phone. So here's what Johnny had to say during the broadcast towards the end of the race.
I'll go ahead and state my disclaimer beforehand. I don't work for Racer TV. I'm in here doing this because I love it. So this is not a reflection of any opinions herein or expressed via Racer TV, GNCC, or anybody else. But shame on you, Sherco. This kid, for him to be out looking for a ride at the end of last season, I mean, this is the ultimate egg on their face. Not as a brand, we'd love to have Sherco here. We'd love for them to have a team, but the management, you guys need to relook at the way you're doing everything, because the riders that you're letting go and having problems with are coming out and winning races. So you better get your stuff together.
Hey, there you go. Right from Johnny Gallagher.
And that is my opinion and my opinion only.
I can't say that I disagree with you, but I am employed by
Racer
TV.
Sure, no, absolutely. And it's nothing against the brand. I would love to see Sherco out here winning races, but their race team management last year was questionable at best, the way they did things. And here we got Grant Baylor, his first ride on a new team and a new bike.
And another thing to point out, they were fresh. They were new to GNCC also. And it's a learning curve for them. And Johnny, one thing I can say they can take away from, and probably from the statement that you just made, it's a good learning opportunity.
Absolutely. Would love to have him back. Love to have him here racing. But right now, Rodney.
So, bold statements. I was kind of shocked to hear that. And I don't know why. He didn't say anything that was untrue. He didn't say anything that nobody else was thinking. He really didn't say anything that bad. But when you go back and look at it, the things unfolded with Stu last year, which there's still so many gray areas about. There's still so many unknowns. There's still so many questions that have been left unanswered with what happened with Sherco and Stu. And then Stu gets on another brand bike, builds it the weekend of a National Enduro, and puts it on the box. And then he rides a different brand bike and puts it on the box. And then he comes back and gets a deal with Ampro Yamaha and wins 4 out of the last 5 races at the GNCCs last year. Grant won a championship on that Sherco machine. So Grant had to sit there and watch things unfold like this for his big brother. Watch his big brother go through times where they were wondering how to pay their bills. Stu was on the show last year when all that happened and said that he was wondering, going to sell campers, selling boats, selling anything just to make mortgage payments. So Grant Baylor sat on that team, watched all that stuff happen, and like I said, there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what happened, but regardless of what happened, Grant stuck by them. He stayed on that bike. He put that bike on GNCC podiums. He put that bike on National Enduro podium after National Enduro podium, including getting race wins and including getting them a championship. So their first year getting involved with everything, they won a championship. They were on podiums. They had success. Stu put their bikes on podiums. And then I guess the point that I'm getting at is exactly what Johnny said. For Grant Baylor to be looking for a ride at the end of the season is absurd. And it's kind of weird that it came to that. And like I said, I don't know why I was shocked to hear that on the broadcast, because I don't think it's something that everybody else hasn't been thinking. But for him to go out and say it on the broadcast, that took guts by him, in my opinion. And it's nothing with the brand, and we want to see more brands out there, and we want to see more teams out there, because more brands and more teams create more opportunities for people to make a living riding a dirt bike, for people to get signed to deals, for people to be out there making money and supporting their families and calling this a career. So I think they're absolutely welcome back. But what was going on over there for them to get rid of Stu? Stu comes back, and he's the guy. He's winning races. It came down to the National Enduro Championship between Stu and Grant. And both of those guys started the year on Shercos. Grant won that championship for Sherco. All the pictures were Sherco machines. Sherco's marketing this year is National Enduro Championship winning machine. And then that same guy that they're using for their marketing was looking for a ride at the end of the season. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I guess I didn't realize that until this weekend when I heard all of that. And then heard Grant up on the podium basically saying that he was calling around looking for rides. And he didn't know that he was going to have anything. So you got a guy that won a National Enduro title, national championship, not knowing if he was going to have a ride the next season. And that just blows my mind. And I'm happy that he got to talk with the guys at the KLM Gas team. And last year it was KLM Kawasaki. This year it's Gas. But super stoked that Grant was able to find that ride. And obviously his first race on that new bike, he comes out and wins the GNCC. This is a guy that won the National Enduros and came out and won the GNCCs. That's the same guy that was calling around asking for rides last year. And that just blows my mind. And it really makes you wonder what happened and what the approach was from them. And I'm not talking bad about Sherco by any means. I guess just I'm only reporting on it. It happened. It was on the live broadcast. I mean, 20,000 people or however many people saw it and heard it. So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. And the way that all happened and the way it unfolded, not sure what happened there. But nevertheless, that is Big Buck in a nutshell. This weekend we'll be going Mid-East racing. So if you want to go and check out that Mid-East race, it's going to be happening down in Woodruff, South Carolina. And then the following weekend we'll be in Florida for the GNCC. I want to give a big thanks to everybody that came up and talked to me over the weekend. I handed out a lot of stickers, sold some t-shirts. It's really cool to see that support. It's really cool to know that people listen to this thing, and just kind of talking to more and more people and really finding out how many people listen to this thing blows my mind. I don't think it'll ever become normal that people do listen to the show and tell me that they listen to the show, but man, I appreciate the heck out of everyone's support. So if you got a sticker, you got a shirt, or even if you just listen to this show and never have any intention of talking to me ever, I appreciate each and every one of you. And it was just really cool to see everybody again and be at the races, and to hear that people are actually listening to the show and enjoying it just means the world to me. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that listens, and thanks to everybody that supports the show. Whatever you're listening to this on, if you could click subscribe, that would help me out a lot. Also, if you want to tell a friend about it, let them know what we have going on over here. There's a lot of people that I think have questions of what's going on in the industry. I do my best to get the most relevant people and the most relevant information out there to you, and that's what I try to do every week. So some of the questions that I heard them even asking on the broadcast were things that were answered last week on the show by Strang or by Lyndon or by Jonathan Johnson. So we're still growing, and we've grown exponentially since last year. And last year we saw a lot of growth since the years prior. And so it's really cool the direction that we're heading, and it's really cool that people actually listen to this thing. But like I mentioned, I'm not trying to be the star of the show. All I'm trying to do is bring more exposure to the riders. They're the ones that are out there and really doing the work. I'm just talking. So just trying to create a platform. Everyone sees the stuff about moto and supercross, and I just think that off-road doesn't have that same type of coverage. So my only goal in this whole thing is to bring more coverage, because more coverage brings more followers, brings more sponsors, brings more money, brings all that for these riders that are out there making a living doing it. I'm just a guy sitting at my coffee table with a microphone. So thank you all for listening. If you could, let somebody know, let a friend know. Tag us, share our post, that kind of thing. It really goes a long way in helping. But with that being said, we're going to move on to our first interview of the night. They're both OTP OGs, good friends of the show, and Whole Shot extraordinaires. They have a whole shot challenge between the two of them in that plus 25 class. But two good buddies of mine, Tyler Bruton and Big Tom, Thomas Caldwell. How's it going tonight, boys?
Living the dream. Birthday living.
Oh, yeah. I meant to include that in the intro. I did talk about it at the beginning of the show. You'll be happy to know, Tom. I know I forgot to mention your contribution to the intro sometimes in the past, but I talked about the intro, talked about your birthday. Happy birthday, Big Tom, and happy late birthday. Your birthday was 4 or 5 days ago, Tyler. So happy birthday to both of you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
And happy birthday to Curtis, because his birthday was like yesterday.
That's correct.
But anyway, let's get straight into this whole shot thing. I don't know how you guys do it, because you guys have both changed bikes. Well, Tom, you didn't change bikes, but Tyler, you changed bikes, and you guys are still getting every damn whole shot. It's always you two up front, to the point where you guys are making bets between not if one of the two of you will get the whole shot, but which one of the two of you is going to get the whole shot. And it seems to always happen that way. So where did the whole rivalry start for the 25-plus whole shot king award that you guys have going?
Well, I think me and Tom have obviously raced a lot of locals together, too, and just a lot of start battles. We are pretty good at them. And this is a funny story. I just got a Snapchat from one of our buddies of last year's Big Buck Start, where we were also 1 and 2 in the start. So it's been going on for a while. Big Tom did. I did. But that was a year ago. Who won, Tom? We know. Let's not get into it. So basically, the whole thing started was I was running my mouth and talking shit like normal.
No.
And I turned 25. My birthday was actually the day of Big Buck last year, so I was eligible for the 25-plus class. And up to that point, Tyler had been racing the class for 2 years and literally, I think, pulled every whole shot in the class when he was there. And I just started running my mouth and said, I might not beat you for 3 hours, but I'm going to get the whole shot on you. And I think we did. He did that. He did that, didn't I think we did 4 or 5 GNCCs that year, and I think we did 4. The last one I crashed out of, but the 4 that we did, we each got 2 apiece. So going into this year, we were tied. So he's 1 up on me right now. That's right.
So Tyler, you had the 302 stroke last year. You got the 4 fatty this year. Obviously, it worked out for you because you got the whole shot at Big Buck.
Yeah, and honestly, that was only my second time racing the 450, which means it was my second time doing a whole shot or start, a practice start. I haven't practiced it at all. It cranks good, I guess. It's worked out.
So, like I mentioned, it's crazy to me that it's never if one of you two are going to get it. It's which one of you two are going to get it. What do you do? Like, do you guys both have the same starting procedure? Do you start in gear? Do you start in neutral? Do you start in first? Do you start in second? What do you guys do?
Just push the button. Push the button. That's what I was going to say. You don't have to kick. Which actually, on my 0300s, I always kicked them up until I got that 2018. And the electric starter was actually faster. And now, obviously, the 450 doesn't have a Kickstarter, so I have no choice. But, yeah, just press the button and go. I actually started first. I think second.
So you start in first, Tom. What do you start in?
I start in second. Yeah. Yeah. I've tried first, or I've tried second. I don't know. For some reason, I like starting in first.
Even on the 450?
I did. Even on the 450, yeah. I did watch. My mom actually got a video of the start, like right as I took off from the side, and you could tell I was carrying the front wheel almost the entire way on the start. Which I don't run a whole shot device, and Thomas does. So looks like I might need to invest in one because that might give me the edge to make this not a competition anymore.
Especially when you run him as wide as you did in the second turn, that kind of helps out too.
Dude, he squared me up so good in turn one, and if he would have pushed a little bit wider coming out of turn one to like kind of block me off, but he left the inside wide open, and yeah, I was going to take both of us out before I gave it to him. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I won't be that nice again.
Learned your lesson?
What happened? No, well, actually, what happened was halfway down the second straightaway, going into the second corner, I just started screaming because I thought I had it, claiming it, and I guess when I did that, I let off the gas, and he got me.
By the way, when you go back and watch the Racer TV starts, you can hear you screaming on the Racer TV starts.
Yeah, people tell me I'm loud.
I thought it was awesome. But so Tyler, you've won the GNCC Plus 25 championship before, correct?
Yeah, back in 2018.
And then
when I was 25.
Hey, look at that, the inaugural year. But then you come out this weekend, you grab the win at round one. How did the rest of your race go?
It went really well. I'm really getting along with the 450. Like, I like it a lot. I've been riding the 300s for so long now. It was kind of a nice change up. But no, I got a good start. And we started behind the Vet A and Senior A class. So we caught traffic, like, in the first half mile. And I picked through traffic really fast, which I'm usually not very good at. And knew I had a good gap between whoever was behind me because there was no way they were holding. I at least had some lappers between me and second. And, just decided to try to keep my consistent laps. And the track got gnarly, and I usually am pretty good at line choice. I think that paid off in Big Buck because it was a gnarly track.
It looked like a lot more line options than normal, but, I mean, you kind of dominated that class. You won by a good bit. Tom, your race went pretty much just as well, right?
No, not really.
What happened with you?
We made it about a lap and 3.5 miles and broke a chain. So,
And 3.5 miles in what?
A lap and 3.5 miles and broke a chain.
Broke a chain. How many hours were on that chain?
I don't think it was the chain. I think it was the master link, and the clip probably had, I don't know, 60, 70 hours on it. So,
Dang it.
big mistake on my part. Should have thrown a new chain on there before the season, but well.
As soon as I heard the chain was broke, started thinking Lyndon actually came by our campsite Sunday morning, I guess maybe as he was out biking, and came up, and I was sitting there just leaned up against Thomas's bike talking with him, and he looks down and said, "Dang, Big Tom's master link clip looks like a razor blade." And then as soon as I thought Tom broke a chain, I was like, "Ooh, man, that's bad news."
Try to give him a little bit of a warning.
Yeah, it'd have been. Go ahead.
I said he tried to give you a little bit of a warning.
Well, they didn't tell me that till after the race. It'd have been nice if it'd have been nice to get that before, but I guess Tyler was scared and didn't want to tell me.
That's what it was.
So then, what did you do for the rest of the race, Tom? You just hang out, crack a beer. How did the rest of your day go?
I spent about 45 minutes pushing my bike back to the truck.
Dang.
And I had all of 2 people offer to help me push it, which was nice. Out of about 30 people I walked past. Must have been COVID. But after that, I got changed and grabbed about, 4 or 5 beers and went down and helped Scott pick Trevor, and actually I picked Tyler halfway through the race.
That's true.
See, look at that. You get the whole shot on him, and then he ends up helping you pit later on.
Yeah, he actually was. The only thing I said to him pretty much my entire pit stop was he asked if I wanted water, and I mumbled yes. And what happened to you? He said, broke my chain. And that was like the only words I said my entire pit stop. For some dumb reason, I don't wear a water pack here. And all I got was like a half a bottle of water that entire 3-hour GNCC. And that was pretty stupid because I was pretty dehydrated at the end of that race.
Why don't you wear a water pack?
I don't have a good answer for you. I don't really like them on the water pack on my shoulders, but I've always wore cheap water packs. I need to invest in like a decent, what's that, USWE, or I don't know how to say it,
the
water
fanny pack
I
one?
probably should get one of those. A fanny pack, or just like a nicer. I always wear like the Gander Mountain Bass Pro Shop like cheap water packs. I don't know. I've never had a decent one, so I've never really liked it.
So if you got enough confidence to race a 3-hour race with no water pack and no water, then surely you just must have like the best diet of them all coming into the race, huh?
That's a joke. Yeah, my diet's pretty bad.
I heard a little bit about what was your race fuel for the weekend. Just tell the people what did you do to prepare for this race?
Well, let me just backtrack a little further because so obviously me and Big Tom were roommates, and we were planning our weekend because we got down there on Friday and camp all weekend. And I don't know if my birthday was on this past Thursday, so I don't know if I was either drunk or hungover or what. Big Tom asked what I was planning for food for the weekend, and I guess I was moody. I don't even really remember the conversation very well. And I said, I don't even know where I'm sleeping yet. I'm going to fend for myself for food. And Thomas is always like, all right, well, screw you too. And we go on about our day. And on Friday, we're headed down there. I give him a call, like, hey, like, what are you guys eating? He goes on this long list of whatever they're taking. I'm like, well, do you have enough to share? And he's like, no, absolutely not. He's like, you said you were fending for yourself, so I'm fending for myself. So long story short, I did not have anywhere near enough food. I bought a pancake mix that had eggs and milk, didn't have eggs. Just the whole food situation was rough. But to get back to the original question, my Sunday morning diet, I woke up, had about a pound of bacon because that was about all I had. Then I had like 3 little packs of Welch's fruit snacks, about 5 crackers, a Pedialyte, that was good, and then I had about a half a cheeseburger right before the race. And
sounds like a recipe for success.
That was, I mean, clearly it worked. I won.
I wouldn't change anything then. It's a proven formula.
Yeah, it works.
So then,
I don't see what the big deal is.
And then, how many beers throughout the weekend too? That's important to note too.
Oh, yeah. I drink a good bit. I drink about probably, I don't know, 9 or 10 beers on Friday night or Friday. I should stay all day Friday. And then I had 3 beers left on Sunday or on Saturday. Drink those 3, and then I think I probably borrowed 3 more. So I probably had enough. But I drink it right. So we're good.
What about you, Tom? What was your race day diet?
Race day diet was, let's see, I had 3 eggs, some pan-fried potatoes and onions, and some wing sausage, and a ham and cheese sandwich before the race, and a banana.
Look at that. That's the type of stuff that'll get you at least a lap and a half, so I think you overdid it.
I agree.
Well, I mean, so...
But I did...
Go ahead.
No, I think I got Tyler beat on the beers drank throughout the weekend.
I was gonna say because we were all out there Saturday night, and it seems like everybody was drinking a good bit.
Saturday night was pretty mellow. You weren't down there for Friday night, but I think I told you 2 or 3 times that you missed a good time.
Yeah, I saw some Snapchats from Friday night.
Yeah, somebody made the mistake of handing me a microphone, and let's just say they regretted it.
I've had that same exact situation happen to me before.
Yeah, I didn't shut up.
I felt bad for the quad riders who had to get race at 10 a.m. because they were definitely up and screaming karaoke or whatever you want to call it, Thomas, with the microphone until at least 1 o'clock in the morning. It was probably after that, to be honest with you.
So it sounds like if people...
Everybody was pretty reckless.
Go ahead.
I said everybody was pretty reckless on Friday night, that's for sure.
So it sounds like if people can find y'all's pits, the pit area, that's the place to be for a good time on race weekends.
Absolutely.
So one thing too I want to ask you guys about is obviously you guys have been some of the biggest supporters of the show, and I appreciate that. You guys both been on the show a couple times before, and we're all in a group chat, and we all kind of talk back and forth of what's going on and who said what, and just kind of staying up on all the news. The first weekend, first round, Big Buck is done came and went, and there's a lot of storylines that came out of the weekend. From things being said to Grant Baylor winning, Mike Wachowski winning. I mean, a lot of different storylines throughout the weekend. So between the two of you, what would you guys say that your biggest takeaway from the weekend was, or what you thought the most interesting thing of the weekend was?
Can we go first, Tyler? Say what?
Yeah. Yes, go first.
No, I think the biggest surprise of the weekend was Trevor Barrett finishing a 3-hour GNCC. No, I'm just kidding. We give him a lot of shit, which is well deserved. I actually told somebody Saturday night. I said, "Yeah, he was an XC2 guy, and I put him on the Big Tom program and bumped him back to XC3." But no, I definitely think. I think Grant came out of nowhere. Maybe not out of nowhere, but definitely a surprise. But I also think Jonathan Johnson was a big surprise coming out and winning XC3.
So, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you,
but
when we found out that Jonathan was racing XC3, that was one of those things that didn't come out officially until a week before the race. But ever since we first kind of started hearing that Jonathan was racing XC3, I think all of us pretty much said that he would be one to beat in that XC3 class. And then he comes out and proves that and gets that win. So, I mean, do you think that was a surprise as much of him going out there and winning it, or just seeing it all happen?
No, I think it was a surprise of him going out there and winning it because from what I heard, he didn't have but maybe even less than a week on the bike, and I think it's a tough deal to go fast on a 125, especially for 3 hours, and especially bumping down from a 250F to that.
Yeah, for sure.
I know Tyler's got some experience riding a 125, and he can tell you how hard that is.
Oh, this is actually I was about to lead into. We ran into Jonathan down at GTR maybe 3 weeks before season started, and he was still on a 250F. I don't think I'd gotten a 125 yet. Obviously, we're down there with Trevor Barrett, and he's down there trying to get his bike dialed in, ready for race season, and it's taking him forever. And he left me ride his 125 after riding my 450 around, and without a doubt, the slowest bike. I haven't ridden a 125 in years, and that is the slowest bike. It gives you so much respect for the people who can go fast on them. Because I went to the first turn and almost fell over because it wouldn't pull me out of it. I had to gear down 3 times to turn.
T-Ship, I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but I'm looking at the overall right now, and Jonathan actually got 19th overall, which is top 20 points paying. And has he ever gotten an overall that high? That's pretty damn solid.
Yeah, I think he's had quite a few in the top 10. I read his Instagram post, and he said he wasn't really happy with a 19 overall and thinks he can do better.
Okay, well, shows how much I know.
No, I mean, I could be wrong. That's what his post said, and we've typically seen him in XC2 for the past few years, and I know he's been close to some podiums there. I don't think he's gotten an XC2 podium, but I know he's been close, and those guys are always running real high in the overall.
I think he had one, not last year, but the year before that, first ride on a Honda.
Oh, yeah.
At the last race.
Yeah.
So.
Tyler, what about you? What would you think what were you most surprised by over the weekend?
Well, I think mainly just because I got to watch the race. I was impressed with Rachael Archer, how big of a gap she got on those girls so early in the race. Dude, she was checked out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I knew she was fast. It wasn't a surprise that she won by any means. I was just surprised at how easily it seemed like she made it happen. Because I feel like just a few years ago, Taylor Jones was kind of doing the same thing, but all these other girls had kind of stepped up and made it pretty hard on Taylor. Which is Taylor healthy? Is like she back 100%? Are these girls just that much faster now, or is she still trying to get back to 100%?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a question I've been wondering, and I need to have Taylor on the show so we can kind of talk to her and see what's going on. I know she had full knee surgery over the break, and so I'm sure she's still recovering from that to an extent. But yeah, I mean, we saw her absolutely dominate that class for 3 straight years, and it's funny you mentioned that about Rachael because she's actually the next interview that we're going to listen to for the podcast tonight. But I went back, and as I was just doing some research to figure out stuff to ask her, last year she came back after the summer break and won 5 straight races in a row. So this was her 6th straight win in a row. The first win that she got, so it was round 7 last year. It was the first race after summer break. Her and Becca were really close coming through the finish. Every other win since then has been more than a minute.
Wow.
Including Sunday.
That's insane. I just remember her coming through the first lap, and I'm like, where is everybody else? Like, you couldn't even hear the next bike.
Yep.
To start a lap. Crazy.
Yeah, funny thing about that, she was actually hanging out over at the campsite on Saturday night, like I said, the calm night.
Yep.
And she was actually claiming it. So.
Yeah, she was. That's how the whole interview thing started. Saturday night, we were all sitting by the bonfire, and we agreed she was going to come on today to talk about her win on Sunday, and that's what we talked about.
I have a question. I don't know that I know who the guy was who got the top overall amateur.
Nathan Rector.
I had never heard his name before. Has he been around? Is he kind of coming from another series somewhere? Like where did this guy come from?
Tom, do you know anything about that?
Says here he's from Rogersville, Missouri. Is that MO? What is MO?
Missouri.
Yeah. He's from Rogersville, Missouri.
I recognize the name.
He is national number 27, so evidently he's been around a little bit.
I wonder if he was an XC3 guy last year or something. What?
I said, is the 27 a national number? I guess all top 100 are national numbers. Is that correct?
I think so. I think that's how it works.
Okay. I didn't know if it was a number that wasn't claimed, if someone else could claim it or something.
I don't think 0 through 100 are. I think those are all earned. Like you have to earn it to run it.
Gotcha. Well, so it sounds like not a lot of us know a lot about this guy. So
yeah, I recognize.
It looks like he was a top runner in Open A last year. maybe even, hold on, I'm looking it up, but maybe even won the points. I know I clicked on the Ironman and he was 2 points behind. Yeah, he finished second behind Chase Hayes, down by 2 points last year. 157 for Chase Hayes and 155 for Nathan Rector.
That must be where it sounds. Go ahead.
So this guy's been around. He's raced the series last year at least, and is obviously pretty solid. So I'm interested to kind of follow him a little closer.
Yeah, I think he might have raced it before that too, because like I said, when I saw it, I recognized his name, and I mean, surely he was on some overall amateur podiums last year. But yeah, I hadn't, until you asked me that, like I didn't really know much about him either. I was reading through the results earlier, and I mentioned him and kind of talked about him, but then I realized I didn't really know what to say. So maybe he needs to be on OTP. We need to ask some questions, figure out who he is, where he came from.
Yeah, reach out to him.
I know the picture I've seen of the amateur overall podium. He looks like a hefty feller. He probably enjoys to drink Busch Light.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hell yeah.
That's the type of people we like. That's the type of people we like to hang out with.
So we need to get Big Nate and Big Tom hooked up together. Then it sounds like.
I don't know about that, but
not in that way, man. You know what I mean. Busch lights, bonfires, that kind of thing. But
what other topics discuss on this episode?
All sorts of stuff, man. Tried to breeze through the weekend, talk about results, talk about what happened, talk a little bit about some management. I don't want to say issues, but management issues for Sherco and the Baylor boys from last year. And I don't know, we got some really good interviews coming up. Rachael Archer, Thad DuVall, going to do Grant Baylor tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited to listen to all those, to be honest with you.
People are going to be even more excited to listen to this one.
That's right.
But
hey, somebody, you put something up on the Instagram the other day and about a special guest, and somebody responded and said Big Tom.
that is true. You are one of the top requested ones.
Sometimes you gotta give the people what they want, Keisha.
Look, here we are. On your birthday, too.
Hey, Nathan Rector was national number 27. I just looked it up.
Confirmed.
Yep. That is solid.
Now we know.
Yeah,
now we need to do some more research about Nathan Rector.
I have to reach out to him.
Tyler, you're not on here, by the way.
On where?
You did not earn a national number.
No, I didn't run enough races last year. The only year I've ever had a national number was in the 2018, the year that I won the. Ooh, that's actually not true. I'm not sure what my national number was the year I won 25 plus. I think the year I ran my national number, it was the year I ran the full season in Open A. And I don't even remember what that number was. 60 something.
64. It's hanging in our garage, dude.
Yeah, 64. I forgot what it was.
Anyway, boys,
number, but would I get one?
I know this was all came together last minute, but I really appreciate you guys taking some time out to sit and chat with us. Tom, you had your birthday dinner tonight and got back, so appreciate you chatting with us. Tyler, happy late birthday to you as well. A whole bunch of birthdays going on in y'all's household, but yeah, man, thanks for giving us the time and for coming on the show yet again.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, we'll talk to y'all later.
See you, T-shirt.
Always good checking in with the boys. That was Thomas Caldwell, Big Tom, and Tyler Bruton. Tyler Bruton winning the 25-plus class this weekend. He got the whole shot, never looked back. I should have looked it up. I think he won it by several minutes. But two real good buddies of mine, and we kind of talked about it in our group chat that we're all in earlier about getting them on. So it was cool. We kind of did it over the phone this time. We've done a few in person before. I think that works out a little bit better. The phone sounded like it had some delays, but nevertheless, it's always cool to hear their opinions and get the boys involved. So big shout out to Big Tom and Tyler for coming on the show. With that being said, we're going to go to our next guest of the evening, the WXC Pro Bike winner on the weekend, Pro Yamaha's Rachael Archer. Rachael, how's everything going tonight?
Good. I'm just sitting here drinking tea and watching Netflix.
I don't know how you can ask for a better night than that.
No.
So I saw you were down there riding Manchester today, getting ready for the sand. Obviously, Florida's going to be the next GNCC. Last year, we saw your season end just a little bit early. I know you hurt your foot in the last race that you raced, and kind of took a while for that thing to recover, it seems like. So kind of walk us through that injury and how it's all feeling now.
Yeah, so I broke my foot at Ironman last year. I landed on a lap rider on the start of the last lap. Or actually, the start of the last lap. And crushed my foot and broke one of the bones, or one of the metatarsal bones. So the second to last toe. And finished the race and still managed to win, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, that ended my season a little early and I had to miss the last round. And then flew home and had to do 2 weeks in hotel quarantine because it's one of the New Zealand rules at the moment with COVID. And we had an hour outside in the morning and an hour outside at night during hotel quarantine, and I was just bored out of my mind. And I was trying to walk, and it was almost 4 weeks since I broke it when I was in quarantine, and I thought it would have been almost healed, so I started trying to walk and stuff on it, and then got it re-x-rayed when I got out of quarantine, and it was still broken, had hardly healed at all, so that set me back a few more weeks.
That's insane. So first of all, the quarantine thing is absolutely crazy. To spend 2 weeks kind of locked up in a hotel, nothing to do, can't see your family, none of that. And here, after you spent the entire year over here racing, what was that like as far as being over there? You know your family's just right down the road and knowing you can't see them. I mean, and plus being injured, like you said, so you're cooped up, can't walk. What was that like for the mindset after getting back?
Just total, yeah, I was so bored. And it wouldn't be so bad if like you had a day job or something and you worked from home, but it's not what I do. So yeah, I was bored out of my mind. And I struggled to like watch one episode of TV. You can imagine what it was like trying to sit there all day with nothing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, Lyndon Snodgrass, he went back over to Australia and they had to do the same exact thing, and he kind of had a similar story about being cooped up for 2 weeks. But
yeah, he was in there like a week, or he got out a few days after I had just started mine. So I was asking him what it was like and stuff, and yeah, it wasn't good.
Well, good. Well, as long as you came back, you didn't have to quarantine that time, so I'm sure that helps out a little bit. But you mentioned you got out of quarantine and you got the x-ray. Your foot had hardly healed at all. Did they do anything else to help that healing process, or was it kind of just hurry up and wait and see if it heals type thing?
Well, I spoke to the first doctor I spoke to. They x-rayed it, and they're like, oh, yeah, no, that's not healing at all. Like, you need to rest it and stay in the moon boot. And then my dad was kind of angry, so he rang an orthopedic specialist that's worked on him a few times and got him to look at the x-rays. And he's like, oh, no, I can see a little bit of healing there. So, yeah, that kind of perked me up a little bit. And then we got another x-ray 2 weeks after that, and it had started to heal. So then like another week after that, then I could start doing stuff again.
So
But even with the moon boot on, like I still couldn't sit still. I like did all the landscaping around our new addition on our house and stuff, and built the steps and everything.
So it seems like everything keeps getting pushed back. What was the total amount of time from when you injured your foot at Ironman to when you were back to somewhat normal or able to ride a dirt bike or anything again?
I think it was about 2 months, just over 2 months, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
So obviously a lot of time off the bike and not being able to really do much of anything besides a little bit of landscaping. But what was it like over there? Obviously you're back home and you actually just got back a few weeks ago. So what was your training program like over the off season to be able to be ready for the season?
To be honest, I didn't really ride that much. I probably rode maybe 6 or 7 times, to be honest. I was just trying to enjoy my time at home, and like I was with my friends and stuff and went to some pretty lit parties. But I was cycling and I was doing all my off-bike training every other day. But yeah, I didn't get too much bike time. And then my practice bike at home, the ECU crapped out and I couldn't get parts for it because of COVID. So that had me bikeless for about a month. So that didn't really help the situation.
Dang, so just one thing after another. But we talked a little bit about that over the weekend, getting to just chat and really talking about, hey, maybe you got an advantage just being fresh coming into the year.
Yeah, no, I think it did actually help. Like, and coming off like 5 back-to-back wins probably helped as well, the confidence booster.
Yeah, you'd say it's just like riding a bike when you got back on it.
Yeah, no, you don't forget how to ride, that's for sure.
Yep. So I do want to talk about, so you came over, you raced a couple races in 2018, and then you raced in 2019, had several podiums throughout that year, and then last year you finished second in points. First season, same thing, kind of hit or miss on the podium, off the podium, and then coming back from summer break, you just mentioned you won 5 straight races in a row. What kind of clicked in between that time? Because it's not like you just barely won these races. I think one of them came down to the wire, but the other ones, I mean, you were winning by a minute. And just like this past weekend, you won by a minute. What do you think happened? Well, I guess, first of all, what made you make the leap to come over here and start racing? And then between those 2 seasons, what really clicked for you to start grabbing those wins to end last year?
Yeah, so it's always been like a big goal of mine all throughout high school and stuff to race GNCC, and Paul Whibley was like a big influence on my riding career growing up and stuff, and he actually coached me when I was younger, like growing up, riding 85s and 125s and stuff like that, and decided to come over and actually came over in 2017, I think, and did Big Buck in Florida. And I got 4th in Florida and like 7th at Big Buck or something. And I rode for KR4. And pretty stoked with that because I was only like 14 or 15.
Oh, wow.
And then came back the year after and did another 2 rounds. I think I did Mason-Dixon and I can't remember the other one, but anyway, I didn't do too well. I got like a 5th and an 8th or something, and then Paul had me contact Randy and got me an amateur deal for 2019, and like talked me up and said, this girl's pretty determined and wants to win one day. You think you've got a spot for her? And Randy, being Randy, was like, yeah, we can suss something out. And 2 years later, here I am.
So it looks like that's all paying off. When you first came over and you were getting helped out by AmPro and kind of had the thing set up with Randy, did you know who you were coming over to stay with? Or, I mean, did you have your own place? What was the transition like being not too far out of high school, if I'm not mistaken, and then just coming halfway or all the way across the world, really, to race. What was it like when you first got over here?
Yeah, I was pretty scared, like, being out of high school for like 6 months, so hadn't really had a real job or anything. And then I lived in the bunkhouse for, I don't know, about a month. And then Randy offered for me to move into a pool house, like one of their guest houses. And I lived there for about 6 months, and that was good, but it was kind of lonely when you don't know anyone and you're living in a different country. But over time I made more and more friends, and I've moved around a lot. Like, I lived with Ricky Russell for half a year and TR, and then lived at Randy's in the back of his shop for 4 months, and then this year I'm renting a house and sharing Cody Barnes is renting a room off me. So yeah, no, it's good now.
Sweet. So now, obviously, got a lot more people to ride with and train with, and some people to hang out with and stuff too over here. But back to those wins, I can't skip over that. I mean, 6 straight now. You come back, win 5 to end the season last year, and then you pick right back up where you left off this past weekend. I mean, is there anything different? Did it all just start clicking? Did you just decide that you just wanted to win? I mean, what made for that change all of a sudden?
Well, over the summer break, I went through quite a big relationship breakup. Like, I had a boyfriend that was living over here who was actually racing XC2, and then he had to move home after COVID, and he couldn't come back. And then, I don't know, we decided to end it about halfway through summer break, and that's when I started winning. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess more focus on myself, and I guess I only had one goal after that. Yeah, no, things just started clicking. It can't be just that. Like, I put a lot of effort in, and I did a lot of off-bike stuff over summer break and working with my coach, and I like to read a lot and, yeah, just find out more about the human body and human performance and stuff. I'm really into that kind of thing, so, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, it looks like that time to focus and get back on track. Well, not even get back on track, because, like you said, you were a podium regular through there too, but it's crazy that, I guess you would say, coincidence of when you started winning. That's not the answer I was expecting by any means, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask real quick, and I don't want to take a lot of your time up, but Becca Sheets last year, she won the championship. That was her second GNCC championship. Last year, she did an interview with me actually on the show and kind of had a lot of high praises for you and really talked you up. And then I noticed this past weekend, she had a quick interview with Rodney Tomlin, and she did the same thing. Like, you were the first name that she mentioned, and just kind of talked about how fast you got and talked about how you ended the season last year. But, I mean, she had those same high praises before you went on that win streak. What does it mean to kind of hear someone who's been there, done that, and riding the same bike as you too, coming fresh off a championship, giving you those high praises? Like, how does that make you feel as a rider that you're getting recognized by all the other top girls in the class?
Yeah, it's pretty humbling to hear that they all look up to me like that, or look down at me, if you want to look at it like that. Yeah, no, I'm pretty stoked with how I'm going, and I seem to get on well with all the other racers, and I try to be as friendly as possible, and I don't like to burn my bridges anywhere I go. So, yeah, I try and make friends wherever I go and try and, yeah, keep it that way.
Sweet. That's an awesome outlook to see, and I don't think I've seen you around the races without having a smile on your face, so no doubt people take to that. But, I mean, obviously you're living with Cody. I imagine you guys ride a lot together, and I know you ride a lot with some of the other Yamaha riders. Do you ride with any of the WXC girls, or I mean, who do you normally train with?
Well, like today I rode with Ken's Tricker. We went down to Manchester, me, Kenzie, and Noah Clark. He races XC3. And then, like, tomorrow I'm riding with Michael DeLosa and John Johnson. I change it up all the time. I ride with Mike Wachowski all the time and Preston Rains. Like, just anyone. If you want to ride, hit me up.
Perfect. Sounds like you're on the right track, and it's cool to have kind of this hotbed that we're in. I mean, I think you're like an hour and a half away from me, but everywhere in this greater area, there's no shortage of talent and people to ride with. So it's cool that you're getting out and riding with so many different people, and no doubt that has to be helping push you. But super stoked to see you come out, get the win in the first round, and look forward to seeing you the rest of the season. Is it safe to say that in your mind you're the championship contender for this year?
Oh, I'd like to hope so. I'm going to work pretty hard for it.
All right, well, good deal. Glad to hear it. And Rachael, thank you for taking some time to talk with us, and good luck for the rest of your season this year.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
See ya.
So it was awesome to catch up with Rachael Archer, hear a little bit more about her. She's kind of taken that WXC class by storm. So to be able to get some more insight and talk from her and hear from her and hear more of her story was definitely pretty cool. Glad survived that 2 weeks in quarantine. That sounds like a doozy, but nevertheless, she is on a roll right now. 6 straight victories, 5 of them by times of a minute or more. So no doubt that she is on the right track on that AmPro Yamaha team. With that being said, we're going to move into our second place finisher on the weekend, our last interview of the evening. Taking second place on the weekend at the Big Buck GNCC, Rockstar Husqvarna's Thad DuVall. Thad, how's everything going tonight?
Good. Just out here living the dream. A couple days after the race, a little bit sore, but feeling pretty good. And second place start to the year, not that bad.
Yeah, and I mean, first, the one thing that I want to ask, and I know you came back and raced a few races there at the end of the year last year, but it's got to be different coming in to a full season, starting over. Obviously, last year at Big Buck is when you tweaked your knee and kind of went through that whole process again, but how does it feel being back? I mean, I know you've raced a few races since you've been back, but this year, new start, clean slate, how's it feel?
Yeah, it feels super good. Like, to be honest, I really haven't felt like I've been 100% in a little over a year, and to come back and do it as well as I did, it was definitely a boost of confidence. And it feels awesome to be back. Like, I felt super comfortable all day Sunday, and it felt good to have that mentality again. Like, don't get me wrong, like the last couple races I raced last year, like I felt like I was prepared, but not quite how I am now. Like, just having a good winter and coming off with some confidence. And I really feel like it's been over a year since I've really raced well and raced and been healthy enough to race for the win. So I mean, it feels good. So other than that, like, just got to keep it going. And I want to, like, the goal is to race all 12 rounds, or 12 rounds now. So that's the plan, just to be healthy every race and do well.
Good deal. And I mean, coming off that knee injury, you said even going into last year, you weren't able to race up to your potential, I guess, coming in knowing that knee was bothering you. How is the knee now? Like, how has the healing process been, and how is it feeling now?
It feels good. Like, to be honest, it feels better than my left knee, my good knee. So it's just, I kind of did a new surgery with Dr. Lavender, and I think it was the right choice. I feel really strong, and took the time this winter to build those muscles back up in the knee that I didn't have for the last couple races. And I think it showed. So I feel it feels good. I feel healthy. I feel better than ever. And it's just a sigh of relief to have that feeling again coming into the first round, like knowing that I was 100% ready, and to see all the work pay off from this winter, the first round, that's a plus. And yeah, it feels strong, and just keep on rolling, man.
Good deal. And another thing that I wanted to ask you about is your post-race report. So you go through the winter, you're training, and training down there with Caleb and all those guys down there at Ranch Russell in Florida. But the post-race report, the thing you put on Instagram and out on social media, it says second isn't ideal. So coming in, I mean, there's only one person on the track that did better you over the weekend, but in your words, second place isn't ideal. So I just wanted to ask kind of where your headset was on that.
I mean, the ideal position is to win. I feel like being with Caleb all winter, I felt like I was 110% ready, and I mean, nothing less than a win is ideal for me. Like, I felt like coming into the race, I had a different mindset than the last couple of years. Like, I felt like coming into this race, I wanted to be the guy to beat all race. Like, I wanted people to work to beat me. And, I felt like I kind of struggled at the beginning of the race. And other than that, like, I kind of flatlined in the middle. And, at the end, I felt like when I got into the lead, I was the guy kind of controlling it a little bit. And, then just kind of Grant came on strong, and he definitely outrode me at the end. But, second isn't ideal. But looking at the bigger picture, I want to be in the championship points every race, and I don't want to have a bad race here and there. So, if second's a bad day, then I'll take that any day of the year for sure.
Man, and the reason I ask you that is because there's been several preseason things that came out of who's your pick for the championship, and everyone's kind of giving their opinion. And I know it's kind of one of the things, and I kind of picked with Maggie this weekend at the podium about the whole wild card statement. And I mean, you got people throwing out these predictions, the Strings and the Stews and the Bens and that kind of stuff. But then it seems like with you just being out for a year, that it kind of shocked me a little bit to see your name fall into the fourth name mentioned or the fifth name mentioned. How has that affected you? Like, have you read that stuff, and what's your thoughts on that?
Like, that stuff doesn't bother me. I think it bothers obviously Maggie way more than me. And just like, I know. Yeah, I took a year off, and then, I didn't really set the world on fire coming into the last couple of races, but I didn't feel like I was quite 100% yet, and I didn't want to take a step back when I was kind of still going forward. So I just kind of did my own thing and didn't push that hard. But, coming into this year, like, I felt like I was a guy to beat. Like, in my head, like, whatever anybody else says, it doesn't bother me. Like, I've been around this sport long enough to know, you got to have a strong head for sure. And I feel like there was even more maybe smack talk that me and Caleb was working together. I know I got a lot of text messages and a lot of calls. I think I might have broke the internet when I posted that I was training with him. So, even that, like, leading into what people were saying, or, Racetrack's write up, like, I don't pay attention to that stuff. If anything, it just, like, I like if everybody counts me out, that's fine. Like, if I show up at the race, like, I know I'm going to try to win, and I feel like I can win. So, it don't matter what everybody else says. It's just all in my head that knowing I want to be the best guy every weekend that we race. And, when I showed up at Big Buck, and I had the mentality like, hey, like, I'm showing up to win. Like, I want to be the best guy. I feel the best. Like, I know Grant was probably a little better than me, but at the end of the day, I still feel like I came in with a game plan for the race, and I executed it and did what I can. And at the end of the day, I can't be mad at that.
Yeah, for sure. And while you may not read too into that, and it may not have bothered you as much, it really bothered me, man. I'll just go ahead and say it.
Yeah.
I was doing some research, and I was kind of just checking over things right before I called you too. And for the last several years, and I don't mean to talk bad about nobody, and I'm in no means talking bad about anybody, but for the past several years, man, it has been you and Caleb on a podium that nobody else has really been able to touch. and it seems like the race wins have been split between you guys, with some others sneaking in here and there. But I was going back and looking at some things. The Steel Creek win that you had in 2018, you and Caleb were 5 seconds apart. Third place was 5 minutes apart, or 5 minutes back from you guys. Camp Coker, same thing. You and Caleb came across at the same time. Third place was 5.5 minutes back. Mason-Dixon, same thing. You guys gapped third place by 5 minutes. I mean, we're talking about you two running up there, battling for wins, and third place being literally minutes behind. And I think that's the biggest thing that I kind of saw when people were making their predictions, that I don't understand how you weren't the clear-cut front runner coming into this season. So,
yeah, just old and washed up, man. That's what everybody thinks.
1 year off will do that to you, I guess, is the way it seems.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, you come back in, solid ride, second place. I think it's safe to say that everyone knows you're back, and that you are in contention immediately, especially riding healthy and riding good. But does any of that play into your mind? Like you said, that the goal is to come out there and race every weekend. And, I mean, are you coming into the season? Well, I mean, I guess you did say that you were planning to win. But, I mean, are you expecting to have those same results as far as being so far ahead? Or is it going to be kind of a management thing as you're going into the season?
To be honest, I think a lot of things have changed since me and Caleb. I mean, like last year, I think even some races Caleb struggled a little bit to get away, and I think a lot of people has picked up on what we used to do, like just as in speed wise and how we kind of racecraft. And like it took me a couple of years to pick up on Caleb, and I think I might have picked up on a little bit before everybody else did, and then I kind of figured it out, and then that's what kind of helped me get with him. And then like I feel like nowadays the pace is getting faster and faster, and there's some guys coming up that I'm not gonna lie, like I'm pretty worried about this year, like as in I have a game plan for every race, and to execute that I feel like is going to be tough against some of these guys. And to win by 5 minutes, that'd be the ultimate goal. But I know that, and I know that's not going to happen. I feel like I'm going to have some races that I feel like I'm going to be super strong at, and like I feel like I might have that chance to get away. But it's going to be a tough year for sure. I feel like a lot of guys are coming in hungry, and just being in Florida with a couple guys, you kind of can judge yourself. But yeah, just I don't even know like really a good answer for that question, other than I want to execute my game plans every race, and then if I win by 5 seconds or 5 minutes, it ain't going to matter to me. I still want to be able to ride the best I can for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, Racer X predictions aside, OTP predictions aside, everyone's predictions aside, in your mind, are you the clear-cut front runner for the championship in 21?
In my eyes, yeah. Like I've other than last year when I was hurt, I've been second to Caleb for I think since 2017. So yeah. Like for me, in my eyes, like yeah, like that's the ultimate goal. And yeah, I think it should be. I should be the championship guy. Like every weekend, I feel like I should be the guy winning. I should, I have that mentality. I feel comfortable, and I just need to execute it. And at the end of the day, yeah, I believe I'm the guy. Like I believe I should be the guy with the championship at the end of the year. But there's 15 other guys that probably think that too. So that's what makes it complicated and makes it even tougher for sure.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the best battles in that XC1 class, and really through all the classes that we've seen in quite some time, and I'm looking forward to it. And, man, I don't want to take up a whole bunch of your time, but you mentioned the thing about training with Caleb and kind of breaking the internet and everyone kind of being like, what in the world is going on? And then I was standing there at Big Buck and on the podium when you were kind of talking about your race and talking about your preparations. One of the things you said is that you swallowed your pride to go down there and train with KR. So I just wanted to ask a little bit about that. What was the mindset going into that, and why did you look at it as a way of swallowing your pride to go down there and train?
I mean, obviously, we've had our issues in the past, and just had to set those things aside. And, losing to him for so many years, I don't know, you get tired of it. And I think a lot of people will be like, oh, like, I think the people on the internet made the rivalry even more than what it really was, because we've had our issues, but we would go to 6 days for 2 weeks and be stuck together every day together. So it was like we kind of knew how to put all that to side when we needed to. And I think we both like respect each other enough where it was okay. And like he said before, like when we put our helmets on Sunday, it's like nobody's friends. Like everybody's kind of for themselves. And I think it was a tough decision for me to go there, but I think it was the best thing for me looking at it now. Like I just needed that little extra push, and I felt like I might have got a little too comfortable last year with training. And it was like, don't get me wrong, there's the first like week or two it was kind of still, I don't know, there was some tension, but I think we get along really good now. Like he gives me the advice that I need, and I just listen. Like I try to soak it in as much as I can, and he's not like won so many championships for a reason. And being there and seeing the program, like he's always had that little extra on me, like over the years, and I've always like searched for that little extra. But being there and seeing the program now, like I understand why he had that little bit of extra, and I feel like I've been able to pick up on that. And honestly, he's like helped me a bunch. And it's cool. I don't think a lot of people really know our past. Like growing up, we were best friends from the time like we were 5 till probably maybe 14 or 15, and then just I don't know, like we started racing each other and things kind of went different directions. And it's kind of cool to have that friendship again. And I'm excited for the future and training with him for sure.
Man, that's awesome to hear. And last thing, I just want to ask, is there anything, without giving away all your secrets of course, but is there anything that you learned this offseason, and maybe it's through working with Caleb or just kind of taking the year off and watching how things unfolded by not being directly involved in it? I mean, is there anything big that you've learned to take away going into this season, or do you think the benefit is more of just being down there around that group of guys and having everyone there to push you?
I think just being around that group of guys and having that push every day. And I'm 31 now, so I'm getting a little older, and I'm with a group of guys down there that are motivated and young, and it's fun for me just to try to hang on to those guys. And at the end of the day, like it's a sigh of relief when I put in the work and see it pay off. And I honestly just having that push with Caleb and the guys, I think there's 3 or 4 of us XC1 guys there at Caleb's right now, and just trying to be the best guy every day. That's fun for me. Like I enjoy that competition, I enjoy that drive, and I've really been enjoying the suffer all winter. Like it's been a couple years since I've felt like I've suffered this much, but at the end of the day, like I know it feels like I feel like crap at the end of the day, but like in the long term, I know it's in the right direction, how I'm going to feel at the race. And I felt super good after the race Sunday, so I'm excited just to keep it going.
Man, that's awesome, and I'm excited to hear all that. Strang was actually on the show last week, and he was talking about how having Lyndon Snodgrass living with him and training with him has kind of done the same thing and kind of reawoke him, just kind of like what you were saying, being down there training with all those young guys that are gunning for you. But no doubt, man, I'm excited to watch this thing unfold. I think that if you were off anybody's radar, that you're right back on it now. And it was awesome to see you come back and have a good ride and get in second place. And now there's just one more step to go.
Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate it. And just keep digging and grinding, and hopefully cap off some wins.
Well, good deal, man. Good luck with the rest of your season. Thank you a ton for taking some time out to talk with me tonight, and we'll see you at the next one.
Sounds good, man. Thanks.
See you.